Welcome back, it's Doug MPA. Multiple studies have shown that the majority of women would rather work for a male boss than a female boss. Why? Because women in positions of power are more vindictive, more dramatic, and more petty to the women that they supervise. I have a compilation of women here that are going to tell you all about their experience of having a bad female boss, and it's right on par for the course, guys. We're going to get into this compilation. Before I do that, like the video, subscribe, drop a comment. I really appreciate it. It shows you support me and what I'm doing over here. Let's get into this.
Like, my experience when I would go to a job interview was like, if there was a black woman, for example, on the other side interviewing me, I'd be like, oh, I'm definitely not getting it.
Why?
Really? That person works at a company where they're probably the only one or a few of the only one. They're the only woman, the only person of color. You're a reflection on them. And so they got to be extra, like toughness dialed up. And at least in my experience, my biggest allies in business and people who have helped me lean towards being men.
So you mean to tell me that women have been your biggest hindrance in the job market, and that your best allies have been men?
Jesus H. Christ.
Can she even say this? Is this even allowed on this platform for a woman to say this?
Over women, and it's like an unfortunate.
I will say it's the same for me. The worst things that have happened to me in the workplace have happened from women. When you feel like you are wearing that role and there can only be one woman, then you feel like there's more competition.
It's called Queen Bee Syndrome. It's a real thing. It is a real thing, and there's a lot of queen bees out there making the lives of the other women in their office absolutely miserable.
Against the other women. And so it's important for all of us to look at that and say, like, we're not going to fall into that. There can be so many of us.
Yeah. Is that going to happen, guys? No, because women can't stand each other.
The one thing I was not prepared for in the workforce was to have older women just hate me for existing. We'll talk about older men. That's like a different line here, but older women hated me for no reason. We can talk about the narcissistic men on a different time. I'm going to tell you a story about my first full-time job. So I worked for a company that sold medical equipment, and I was in sales and marketing. And we all kind of had different bosses, and we all had, it was like kind of like, I don't know, little groups. And so my boss was under this one. My boss was an older lady, maybe in her 60s, and she had worked at this company for 20 years. We all had different shifts. So like I could come in at 6 a.m. and leave at 3 p.m. And that's what I did. So I came in at 6 a.m. and then she would come in at like a normal time, 8 a.m. And every day she'd come in, she would ask only me what I was doing. So, you know, there's a whole team of like, I don't know, 15 of us. She would say, Chrissy, what have you done? Then she...
Now, there could have been a variety of reasons as to why this happened. She probably had a cheery demeanor. She's probably one of the most attractive women working there. Maybe she talked about having a boyfriend or a husband, maybe, and her boss didn't have one, because that'll do it, guys. Let me tell you that.
Jesus H. Christ.
As a woman, do not talk about your husband or your boyfriend or any good relationship situation in an office full of women, because they'll get jealous and they'll tear you down for it, ladies. Keep it to yourself. There's some way that her female boss got jealous of her and decided to target her and tear her down.
And she would log into the back end of my computer to see what I had been doing that day. And the thing is, I didn't really realize that I was being like singled out. You know, she got mad at me for taking a lot of water breaks. I was also competing in CrossFit, so like I peed a lot, you know, I get that.
So there it is right there. Probably she was in shape and her boss was a big, huge refrigerator. That happens a lot, guys. The big girls always trash the skinny girls. And also, it is okay for a big woman to make fun of a thin woman, but a thin woman can't make fun of a big woman because it's body shaming and you're fat phobic. Ask any naturally skinny girl or any girl who keeps herself in shape about all the crap she gets from all the big girls in her life and at work.
So I was naive and I went to HR and I was like, hey, I just don't think she's treating me fairly. She's like treating me different than everyone else. Now, this company also had someone that was on FMLA leave and also was just like finished a lawsuit from someone not getting their proper lunch breaks. So I'm assuming they were like really fearful of a lawsuit. I was freshly 21. I don't even that didn't even come into my brain. Okay. So I just went to them because that's what I thought you were supposed to do. And I was like, hey, I just think she's like picking on me and I don't really understand it. And it got to a point where like she would call me out in front of everyone. She would talk down to me. But the thing is, like, my accounts were happy. I was hitting goals. I was doing okay. It's just that I could do the job in less time than everyone else, which is what I learned. Anyways, they ended up firing her. I told them not to fire her. I was like, I'll quit. But no, they fired her.
She did the right thing, and that company is better off for it. There are a lot of companies that would have kept that bad manager in place, especially if she's a woman, and especially if she's a woman of color. Duggan PA's black. Let me tell you, I've seen a lot of companies keep a lot of bad B-dub bosses because they're B-dubs. Tell me I'm lying, guys. Tell me I'm lying. She did the right thing by getting this woman fired. I guarantee you what she's not saying is after the woman got fired, a bunch of her, if she could have told her story, a bunch of her coworkers would have said, thank God that you got her out of here. But odds are part of the agreement of the process was her not being able to tell her story to the staff.
I'm going to share what I think is going to be a very unpopular take, but it's based on my personal experience. In my professional career, working for women has been much more toxic than men. Granted, I've had my share of issues with men, but those are along the lines of them maybe making improper advances or playing favorites. Women, on the other hand, are very good at hiding their intentions. And so there's something that feels very just toxic and betrayal about it.
There's this social infrastructure in place that makes women think that there's some kind of sisterhood or camaraderie amongst women, and we all know that's not true. The sisterhood is a myth. Women can't stand each other. And also, women can't defend themselves physically, so they learn emotional and mental weapons first. And a lot of women think that women won't use those weapons on each other, especially in the workplace. The pettiness, the vindictiveness, the passive aggressiveness, these are all weapons women use in the workplace, everywhere in their lives. And one more piece to this. You guys know that lesbian relationships and marriages have the highest DV rate, domestic violence rate, of any group. It's because when women are dealing with other women, they have this kids' gloves are off mentality. And it's the same in the workplace. I will hold to this position. Women treat each other the worst when it comes to their personal lives and when it comes to the workplace. Men can't even come close. When you think about the long-term damage that women do to each other emotionally and mentally, it's because it's woman on woman, mental, emotional, verbal violence. Why are women still so shocked about this? Us men aren't.
And I'm curious if you all have had the same experiences. Like, ultimately, what do you prefer? What do you think make the best bosses, men or women?
And most of the comments, like on all these videos, say that men make the better bosses. Women want there to be more leaders that are women, but they don't want them to be over the women. They want them to be over the men. It's crazy, guys. And one last piece of this. You guys know I've never had a bad female boss in my professional career. Not one. You wanna know why? Because I'm a man. Women in positions of power treat men differently and treat them better. They treat them better. But they will tear down other women in a heartbeat. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. Like the video, subscribe. I'll catch you on the next one.